Alright peeps, hello and welcome to another Warhammer battle. This is a 3v3 battle featuring Time Lord as the High Elves, Warhero of Death as the Wood Elves, myself as Bretonnia, Andrew as the Dwarves, Dr. Spot as the Harganathi Dark Elves, and MR Defender as Empire. Initial volleys going off here between the repeater bolt throwers and the Empire cannons. The bolt thrower shots are going into some spearmen with shields, so probably not where Time Lord wants to be using them. So I expect that he will switch that as soon as he recognizes it. Meanwhile, the cannon is shooting in at Alariel the Radiant, it looks like. So, I mean, the cannon probably could have taken the bolt thrower offline. Oh no, he's shooting in at the white lines of trace. So that's interesting. With the white lines, yes, they're going to take some pretty good damage from that. They also have a skirmish formation though, so I think maybe less damage than, say, some cavalry. Although Time Lord only has some light cavalry there, Illyrian Reavers, so probably MR Defender has actually picked the highest value target that was available to him. By shooting in at these white lines, other than maybe the High Mage or this Flamespire Phoenix, although the Flamespires are right over top of the cannons, and probably the cannon would spend a lot of time repositioning and it wouldn't be able to shoot properly. So Time Lord's doing some nice job microing these Flamespire Phoenixes, dropping some bombs over top of the handgunners, and just trying to limit their numbers a little bit. He has taken a lot of damage on one Phoenix, but he will be healing it up, and there it goes. And just scouting out these backwoods, trying to see what's there. So, you know, very nice stuff out of Time Lord. On this side, I'm going to slow it down a little bit because there's a lot going on. So I've got some initial charges going on, nothing too crazy. I brought some questing knights, which are just terrible in my opinion generally, but I figured maybe they'd have a niche against Dwarves, and if I got stuck fighting Dwarves, I thought maybe they'd do okay. I also brought some yeoman archers, or sorry, some mounted yeomen, because I wanted to see how they would do against giant slayers, because I knew if I was fighting Dwarves, they were going to be giants, and like, you know, usually giant slayers, they're specialized in dealing with large. They have an anti-large bonus, and you'd say, why would you send them into the giant slayers? Well, because they're cheap, and with the charge bonus, they'll probably get some hits in, and giant slayers are unarmored. You know, giant slayers, they're going to lick their chops against heavy armored cavalry and dragons and things like that. But I think if you use light cavalry, you're going to lose for sure. Like, the mounted yeomen will get their asses kicked by the giant slayers, but they'll probably do enough damage to the giant slayers that it ends up being cost effective for me. So I'm okay with that. Now there's going to be some really atrocious fighting here with the Longbeards, Warriors, Dragonfire Pass, Men at Arms, Polearms. Like, the Dwarf Warriors are going to basically beat the snot out of all of this infantry, but we do have an ace in the hole, which is 3 units of Blade Guard, which are going to be able to shoot in and maybe offer a little bit of damage, and they do have the Starfire shafts, so that's at least 2 of them do. The other one does not. So the armor pen from at least 2 units of these guys could be really helpful. And I do have a Damsel of Life to keep my stuff online for a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take the slow motion off, so hang on tight, all you grannies out there. Archers are shooting in at the Hammer of the Witches, taking it offline very nicely. So this is why I think if you're Empire, right, you don't want to sit too close to your artillery batteries. You want your spears to push out so that they can prevent the archers from getting in range of the artillery battery, because if you have the fight right in front of your artillery battery, then your battery just gets sniped. So yeah, Demis and Illyrian Reavers are going to go toe-to-toe. The Illyrian Reavers do have some sneaky spears that are going to come over here and help them out. So really nice stuff from Time Lord here, and also from MR Defender, just going hand in hand here. Alariel the Radiant is going to keep her Flamespires online, while these demigryphs are going to dish out as much damage as they can. There's a Balthazar Gelt here. I guess he's a little wary of getting into the combat, and the silver bullets with handgunners have been dragged into the combat there, so I'm sure MR Defender is going to want to pull them out when he can. And he is rotating over a unit of halbreds to go and support the demigryphs against those two Flamespire Phoenix. The Baltazar Geld is sitting on the outside looking in. Maybe he could have helped out, maybe not. So Dr. Spot is sending over his Dark Elves here, but he is balling pretty hard, and we're going to be making him pay. So there was a huge Penundulum that came down, and you're going to see I'm going to be dropping a spell. I think it was casting. Yeah, I was trying to drop the Trident of Manan from Albrecht, and there it goes. So it doesn't do a ton of damage, but if it hits all of those units, I mean, that adds up. We're almost routed 3 units. If I could have followed it up with a charge, that would have broken off all of that shooting, which unfortunately I just didn't have any units available at the time. But yeah, they are going to start shooting in on Albrecht, so I do have to pull him out. There are some Giant Slayers here too who are nearby with Korn Hellebron, and Hellebron also gave Albrecht a love tap, that's why he's so low. So I need to just keep him out of the combat for a little bit, cycle around, and then I'll go back in when the opportunity presents itself. Giant Slayers are going to move up to the front line and I guess go after this tree can. So just a big sloppy messy fight over here. And the question will be, can we break up this shooting line in the back here? And I do have some Knights of the Realm and a couple of mounted yeomen and questing knights that are going to start making their way into the back line because those Giant Slayers moved up to deal with the tree can. There are some Dread Spheres here, but if I can get in a couple of charges or at least prevent them from shooting for a little bit, then that gives time for the Glade Guard to be shooting while these units are not, and that is probably a win for us. On the other side, Warrior Priest and Demigryphs find their way into some archers, but the archers, I mean, while he's attacking this one unit, the other 2 units are shooting in, so I think that's probably a cost-effective situation for Time Lord, but it's pretty neutral. And I think the Demis really were needed here to fight these Flamespire Phoenix and the Hydra instead of chasing after archers. This is why I think it's really important you bring some light cavalry or some just regular Empire Knights, because if you rely on your Demis to go and fight archers, then it exposes you to this kind of gooning from the large units like the Chiller Centaur or the Flamespires where you really need them. But in fairness to MR, he does have Baltazar Gelt there, he does have the halbreds, so it's not like he's completely exposed, and he does still have a unit of Demis over here who are going to rotate over. So actually it does look like two Flamespire Phoenixes are going to break off, but he does lose the 1 unit of Demigryphs over here. And I think if he had just used Empire Knights or something like that, they could have done the same job and also would have broken off, but they're almost just as tanky as the Demis, and they're way less expensive. So yeah, Thunderers and others have basically gotten broken off. There's a second Trident of Mathlan from Albrecht, who's, now that I've hit them twice, I've just done a ton of damage onto those Dark Shards, and they're basically going to break off. So between some cycle charging from my cavalry and a couple Tridents of Manan, whatever, they were able to break off. Meanwhile, I've got a whole bunch of tattered stuff that has lost to the Dwarf infantry and has fallen back. But the Dwarf line has started to take a little bit of aggregate damage because they didn't get a ton of support from the Dark Elves. They were essentially fighting 2 armies here. They had to deal with my initial wave of attacks with Bretonnia, and then they had to deal with all of the Wood Elves, and especially the Wood Elves shooting, which has been completely free to shoot the whole time because there's been no mobility from the Dark Elves, so there's been no cavalry to harass those archer lines, and the Giant Slayers were sort of busy chasing my cavalry around the map instead of having units that could pressure those Wood Elf archers. So now it's turned into a mosh pit on the left side. You do have some archers shooting in on the Chiller Centaur, and the Flamespires have basically gotten down to their healing limit. Let's see, does this one revive? No, that's one dead bird as far as I can tell. I'm not sure where the other one's gone. Maybe it's broken a flood. But the High Elf Mage is still going strong. Maybe the Demis could have taken it out. But I guess they're trying to go after Alario or rear charge here, maybe going into the archers again. But these archers don't have any ammo, so at this point they're kind of irrelevant. These white lions are wavering, so a charge on them could have driven. Yeah, there they go. Spears are wavering. So Chill of Sontar is doing work here. It's just mowing down on the high elf infantry. And the spears, you know, they're anti-large, but they're not highly pen. So against really large monsters like you know, Chill of Sontar, they're just going to get broken off. I mean, they'll do well against cavalry, but big monsters like that don't really care about little dinky spears. So yeah, balance bar is shifted pretty decisively in our favor. I think this far side is pretty much wrapped up. The Dwarves just ran out of infantry, and the Dark Elves lost all of their shooting. So let's just focus in on this pretty even fight between Time Lord and MR Defender, who have been, for the most part, you know, left to their own vices, aside from the influence of this Chill of Sontar. Hiles are in a bit of a tough spot because they don't have any more arrows left. Chill of Sontar is healing up, and their infantry is very tattered. So had there not been support coming over here, I think that MR Defender probably would have been able to clean up the High Elf troops eventually, maybe. But yeah, there was a lot there. So anyway, super close fight, and a few things went well, a few things didn't go well. So Albric, I think, did a lot of work with his trident against those dark shards. So to Dr. Spot, I mean, the advice would be just spread out your dark shards a little bit. The questing knights, they started off poorly, but sort of paid for themselves. Melted Yeomen, I don't know. I thought they might do okay against the Giant Slayers. It doesn't look like they did as well as I was hoping. So maybe that was a bit of a fail. I don't know. It was worth a try. The Knights Errant, they did middling to poor, but they were getting shot by so much, and something had to take damage. Warhero of Death, like, he was pretty much free to do whatever he wanted. He didn't take any backline pressure the entire game, so his archers got mega value. And Singer of Shadows dropped a really nice penundulum there across the dark shards and some other dwarf units, I think, as well. So that was really nicely timed from him. Time Lord went toe-to-toe with MR Defender, which is not easy to do. His White Lions and his Flamespire Phoenix, I guess, performed very well. Alario stayed alive, the mage stayed alive, the archers used all of their ammos and picked up some chevrons. So for the most part, I think Time Lord's army did what he wanted it to do. And now let's go over the other team, Dr. Spot. Yeah, the archers, I think they really hurt him for not being online as long as they could have been, because he invested a lot in the archers and in protecting the archers with all the spearmen, but then they didn't get to shoot very much, and I think he didn't have any mobility to challenge the Wood Elf shooting, so that was a little bit tough there. Andrew did an amazing job just holding the line for a long time. Unfortunately, he didn't get a ton of support from Dr. Spot, or at least as much as he needed, but he still got a lot of kills and basically did what dwarfs can be expected to do. MR Defender held his own with Time Lord, and they traded pretty evenly. I think my only suggestion to MR Defender, maybe drop 1 unit of Spearmen and consider dropping a unit of Demis for just a little bit of extra, like cheaper cav, like Empire Knights. Other than that, I think it was a pretty fun fight and close match. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.